Have you and Rob begun discussing the look of Werewolf yet?
We're doing it now. It's something that has not been done before that I'm aware of or not done in this way. So I'm just going to test it and see if it works.
Are you looking at 12th century paintings or anything like that?
We're still figuring it out. So no, I can't talk. Primary candidate has not been done before. That's all I'll say.
Well, I've been an admirer of your work, and I'm going to begin by saying to add to something I'm sure you've heard a lot this week, which is congratulations on the Oscar
Oh,
nomination.
thank you. Yeah, that's something. I mean, what do you say?
Where were you when you got the news about the nomination?
This is kind of boring, but there's like someone I was like waiting for a cat sitter to arrive, and then I'm just like, oh, sorry, they're announcing the Academy Awards, and she's like, is this the cat food here? And it was like, what? And then they announce it. I'm like, oh my gosh! And I said, oh, I'm nominated for Academy Award. She's like, well done, you. Anyway, where's the cat litter? It's like,
This is your second nomination from the Academy. Does it feel different going through it, having done it already once before?
it's not something to get used to, but I guess there is a part of you that's like, oh, it's not a fluke. That's okay. That's cool. But it just feels much fuller. I really wish Rob was in on it. I don't know. Obviously, he's the center of it all, and he kind of directs us to do our best work. But nonetheless, it feels much richer sharing, being there with three other collaborators, with Craig. And if I don't have amazing sets to light, then, I don't look as good. Um, and makeup, same thing, Linda. So that feels good.
Yeah, I would agree. I would have loved to have seen Rob in there. To get to Nosferatu, it is your fourth film together in under a decade. And I thought a good place to really begin is how would you say that the rapport and the dynamic the two of you share, how has that evolved in over the course of these four movies?
I don't know that's changed that much between us. I think it was pretty natural. Except for the first short, 'cause, we were definitely learning each other then. This is like 2007. After that first short, we really just would hang out all the time because we weren't working, and there was like 7 years of that really just becoming friends and kind of aesthetic snobs together and really connecting. So by the time Witch got made, we're pretty close, and then maybe we find our method there. I think the techniques have changed. The work has gone up substantially as far as ability. It's still Rob and I have been friends for so long that yeah, the shorthand is kind of the same.
And yeah, going back to even as you said, you were friends before The Witch. Would you say that you've always shared an affinity for shadows and historical settings, and looking at ancient things?
What DP doesn't like some patina, but I don't need to like everything I do doesn't need to be dark. I just, the director I connect with the most, just covers the dark side of me and I get to explore that fully. Within that realm, our tastes overlap a lot. I know that if I'm going to send him an illustration or a photograph or whatever I think is great, he's probably going to like it. So yeah, there's just a huge, sharing of taste.
Related to that, the emphasis on Nosferatu was to draw on the Romantic period from the 18th and 19th centuries. I know he was sharing with you some paintings and influences. What were some of the ones you shared with him and that you thought, really informed the aesthetic you were looking for to make this one?
There's only so much you can really make a painting in a movie. And I think Rob, he has when I'm working with him, my brain just goes into, Rob composition mode. So even if it's a frame that I might find, I'm filtering it through the Rob filter, which means we tend to shoot things symmetrically. We tend to shoot things graphically. We tend to, make things look a little bit two-dimensional, a little bit storybook. You could call it a tapestry rather than a storybook, but whatever we do just tends to be graphic. So I personally don't reach for a lot of references outside of a general feeling, unless it's like the Lighthouse and it's like, okay, so we're being very specific with the photography. The references are photography, so we can get technical and get specific as to what, an orthochromatic film looks like and what micro contrast we're going for, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, this is a little bit more a looser feel.
Well, the Lighthouse, another movie I love, it has certain expressionistic elements to it, and it certainly reminds me visually of a film made in the early talkie era as well. Did you feel like it was a necessary, deliberate choice on Nosferatu to get away from expressionism and maybe what people generally expect from a Dracula or a Nosferatu movie?
Yes. I mean, I think our style is generally not going to be, it's going to, the lighting is generally going to be, even though the compositions are very staged and very graphic, and very, even posed, the lighting is always naturalistic. So I don't know that there would be a movie where it's going to look overtly artificial and, expressionistic. The way we're going to do it, like you mentioned, the Lighthouse maybe is like, we're going to put the lamp,
Yeah.
someplace that's going to do that. Just choose one good source, not too many lights fighting each other. We're going to do that anyway, and it's going to be, um, yeah. Anyhow,
I want to talk about the lighting in Nosferatu. Like, for example, could you talk about for you how you wanted the audience to be able to distinguish visually the difference between settings based on some scenes are shot only in candlelight versus other scenes which are shot in gaslight, I believe.
the gaslight tends to be kind of a single lamp, so almost lighthouse style. So it's and it tends to be a little harder. I think when it's off screen, I will sort of fade out the source from the main source. Like, if you have, let's say we have an oil lamp with just a tube like this, which has an electric bulb in there, but we're going to call it gas because gas cannot light a movie. It's just too dim. It's actually, yeah. Whereas candles, you can just multiply. Okay, we'll just add candles. We'll justify more candles, and we'll get our light level that way. You can't just put 12 gas lamps in a scene. It has to be one, so it has to be strong and therefore electric. And maybe I'll just sweeten it a little bit when it's off screen, and I'll put like what I call a donut around it of some other bulbs to sort of uh, make it glow and wrap a little more.
Did you have to experiment in how many candles would it take to make a shadowy scene appear, on celluloid
Yeah.
film?
I mean, we had some high-speed lenses made. That's incredible. Yeah, they're a T1, so they're about twice as fast, one stop faster than a high-speed lens usually is for a reflex camera. That halves your requirements. Even after that, I mean, if it's a close-up shot like this, you could have three triple wick candles nearby and you'd be fine. A wide shot, you gotta, thank God the monastery. Thank God we framed, it's a wide shot. We frame it through a door, thankfully, because I just like, you know, just pile a bunch of candles over there and they're just melting and burning and people are slipping around in hot wax and it's a fucking mess.
Yeah, I asked Bill back when the movie came out. Did you feel the coldness of the character? He's like, no, there were hundreds of candles, and I was under prosthetics.
Yeah, the library scene has those candles. You probably got hot really in the dinner scene with the fireplace because that was actually just fire, a single fire, lighting that entire room. And it's just a choice of how much smoke you want to put in to fill it in, and that's that at least for that initial wide shot. So yeah, he's probably reacting to fire.
Well, the concept of the vampire shadow has been important in, Nosferatu since the original. But what I absolutely loved was the lighting of the daybreak at the end. I don't know if I've seen, a more radiant sunrise in an interior. And I was curious, did you shoot that all with natural light?
No, that's totally artificial. All window lit interiors kind of have the same, are variations on a formula, which is largely bounce light outside. I mean, I'm basically doing it forensically, right? So I'm studying how light comes in a window. It tends to be, if it's sunrise, I put a horizon outside of black. Then I build a sky, which is a bunch of bluer light bouncing, and I have to do it from below the set, so the set's raised. Then I have 20 giant HMIs bouncing around. If I want it hotter in one part of the room, then I have to mirror it because it's a pinhole, because the window, you brighten it here, it's going to go through the window and get the other side of the room. So, kind of like finessing what part of the room is how bright, where they're bounced. But then you also need a hard light. Okay, horizon. What's left is the sky, and then you light that up with bounce light, and then you have a sun. But the sun can't just be a light outside the window because it's much too close because your HMI is like this big. So if your HMI is this big physically, then it's just too soft. So I have to get really far away. So then I'm actually shining it into a mirror that's coming back into the room. And so a lot of times it's across the stage, shooting over the entire stage, hitting this mirror and coming back. And then you have to cut that off of the sky because the sky needs to remain blue and not orange, which is that. at the sun, and what else is there? Oh yeah, then I usually put a little color along the horizon because usually at sunrise the horizon is a little warmer. So then in those places, then I have some diffuse. Now I'm getting really technical. Sorry. Anyway, I have some diffuse like LEDs there, so it kind of goes from warm into blue. Then the hard source and the mirror. Then the mirror is motorized because the sun is actually rising. So then we actually built a kind of a truss motor where the mirror is rising, but still within the cone of the beam. So then it's actually turning. So you get the moving shadows in the background that no one's going to notice because we're looking at Orlok melting, you know. So yeah, it's a lot of work, you know, and it's all different ratios you have to test and so forth.
It comes through as, you know, exquisite. You do achieve a painterly aesthetic there, I'll say. Jarin, this was a pleasure, and I really enjoyed talking with you today. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
The undead plague carrier, the vampire, Nosferatu.